Hello class 10. We'll continue chapter number 9, that is the excretory system. Alright, so today in this session we'll talk about the function of the kidney. Okay, functions of the kidney. Function of the kidney. Function of the kidney. Okay, that is production of urine. Okay, production of urine. That means the function of the kidney is to produce urine. Okay, so that once it is formed there in the kidney, it is pushed down to the urinary bladder through ureter, and it is thrown out through urethra under the control of your nervous system. All right, then that's the production of urine, which is the function of the kidney, and this production of urine takes place in three major steps. Okay, three major steps. So these three major steps are: number one, ultrafiltration. Okay, then reabsorption, and the third one is your tubular secretion. Okay, tubular secretion. So that way, the urine is pumped ultimately there in the kidney. So first we have ultrafiltration. So let us talk about ultrafiltration. Okay, so the diagram which I have drawn here is your Malpighian capsule. This is your Malpighian capsule, or it is also called renal capsule. It's also called renal capsule, which was discussed in the last session, and it was drawn in the last session itself in such a way that you would be very clear with the diagram. Okay, the entire diagram was done in the last session, so that I have just taken only this Malpighian capsule out here to continue with this session. Okay, because I don't need to draw the entire your nephron or your kidney tubule in this session. So just I have taken Malpighian capsule out here. See, when the urine is pumped there in kidney, or when it has to be pumped there in kidney, that time what happens is that you see the blood first flows through this glomerulus. This is your glomerulus. So what is Malpighian capsule? Let me tell you once again. This Bowman's capsule, and this glomerulus are together called Malpighian capsule or renal capsule. Alright, so that when blood flows through this glomerulus, that time heavy pressure is formed. That means under heavy pressure, the blood flows through this glomerulus. Why? Because your efferent arteriole is much smaller than the afferent arteriole. So the blood flows through here. Blood is flowing through this efferent arteriole to the efferent arteriole via this glomerulus, so that when it has to go through this narrow path, the pressure is formed, heavy pressure is formed. So under heavy pressure, when the blood flows through this glomerulus, that time, that heavy pressure causes the liquid part of the blood, filter out into this tubule. This is the tubule out here. So that heavy pressure, formed during the flow of the blood through this glomerulus, causes the liquid part of the blood, come out of this, or filter out of this glomerulus into this tubule. Okay, so that filtration of the liquid part of the blood under that heavy pressure, under that extraordinary pressure, is called ultrafiltration. It's called what? Ultrafiltration. So what is the liquid part? That means what else do you find there in the liquid part is this here. These are the things that you find there in the liquid part of the blood. There water obviously is there, urea, salts, glucose and plasma. Mostly it is plasma. Okay, so you find that in the composition of blood, plasma contributing 55 to 60%. Okay, so that plasma along with water, urea, salts, glucose, you find there in that liquid part of the blood, which is now you see flowing through this tubule. Okay, so that filtrate, that composition, that liquid part of the blood which is now flowing through this tubule, okay, coming out of this, okay, this your glomerulus is called glomerular filtrate. That's called what now? Glomerular filtrate. Okay, that's called glomerular filtrate. Remember this, what is glomerular filtrate? So glomerular filtrate is the liquid part of the blood flowing through this tubule after getting filtered out from this glomerulus. Alright, so that glomerular filtrate now be going through other two stages. Okay, other two stages or other two steps. Then then we go through the reabsorption and tubular secretion. Ultimately the urine is formed. Okay, ultimately what is formed? Urine is formed. Now see, let me explain it some other added part to this ultrafiltration. Again, let's see, as I've told you, the liquid part of the blood now will be flowing through this and remaining part of the blood which is not flowing through this, usually solid constituents of the blood, okay, like blood corpuscles, proteins and other large molecules, okay, other large molecules now will be flowing through this efferent arteriole. See now, here let me tell you once again, let me emphasize this particular thing out here once again. See, okay, liquid part and other solid part of the blood. So liquid part only will be filtered out from this glomerulus into the this tubule, okay, from which actually the blood, the urine is formed. Not the entire glomerular filtrate is used for making the urine or is producing the urine, okay, is used for producing the urine, but some part of this, okay, some part of this will be used for producing the urine, that we talk later on. But other than the liquid part, like your blood corpuscles, your proteins and other large molecules will be going through now efferent arteriole. So that efferent, solid part of the blood which is flowing through now efferent arteriole is thicker than the other blood, that is blood flowing through the other regions. Alright, so this is how it happens when it flows through here. So that means that heavy pressure is formed out here when it goes through here, which means the pressure which is now flowing through here, which is formed out here while the blood flows through here, is much more than the pressure formed in other blood capillaries during the flow of blood. Okay, so this is how the first your glomerular filtrate is formed, which is now passing through the tubules. Okay, which is now passing through the tubules. Alright, so from this only the urine is formed. So it's not that 100% of the glomerular filtrate which is passing through is used in producing the urine. It's not that, but here this is how from this only the urine is formed. So that will be discussed in the next major other two steps, that is reabsorption and tubular secretion. Okay, now second step we have is reabsorption. Okay, as I was telling you, that means this glomerular filtrate which is passing through this tubule now is not a urine, but it is a highly dilute solution which contains many useful substances also, like glucose and other salts like sodium. Okay, so that much of the water along with the useful substances like glucose and sodium is reabsorbed there in the tubule itself. Okay, and only the remaining part of the glomerular tubule is used for producing the urine. Okay, so much of the water and useful substances are used, are reabsorbed there itself. So that is also called selective. It's also called selective absorption. It's also called selective absorption. And this reabsorption, is done in such a way that, the normal concentration of the blood is not disturbed. Okay, so that way it is, done there in the second step of this urine formation called reabsorption. Now, the third step is tubular secretion. Okay, so in tubular secretion, what you find is that you see glomerular filtrate. Okay, after the reabsorption of the water and useful substances, further passes through this tubule. Okay, further passes through tubule. So in that process, passing through this tubule, what happens is that potassium, so other foreign substances like potassium and other foreign substances like drugs like penicillin and all also are passed into the urine forming. They all ultimately go into that process, and they all get mixed up with the urine, and that urine now is collected there in the collecting duct of the kidney tubule. Okay, so after that they are now poured into the pelvis of the kidney. You see, pelvis means this here. I'll show you page number 115. This is the pelvis. Okay, this is expanded part of the ureter. So this urine is now poured into this pelvis, and from pelvis it goes down to the ureter, and from ureter it goes down to the urinary bladder, and from urinary bladder it goes out. It is passed out through the urethra under the control of our nervous system. Whenever the time comes, whenever we feel that it is now a time to pass it out, then we do it. Okay, where that sphincter is also there to control it, then we release it. So that passing out of the urine through this urethra is called micturition. It's called what? It's called micturition. Micturition. Okay, so that process is called micturition. So that way, ultimately that your tubular secretion is involved. So okay, so in tubular secretion, that means doing all that there in the step called tubular secretion, the cells of the tubular walls are highly involved. Okay, they are involved there. So since they are involved there in executing their function there in the tubule, so this is called tubular secretion. This is called what? Tubular secretion. Okay, so this is how the urine is formed there in the tubular secretion, and from there ultimately it is poured there in the pelvis, and from pelvis to the urinary bladder through the ureter. Okay, so doing that, okay, so making the urine that way, okay, where we found these three steps: ultrafiltration, reabsorption, and tubular secretion, require a large amount of energy. Okay, require a large amount of recoil. That's why here we find the demand of oxygen. The demand of oxygen out here we find 6 to 7 times more than the demand of oxygen there in the muscle. That much oxygen, energy is needed for making the urine or for producing the urine, where these three steps are involved. Okay, so that way we finish this chapter, because that much only is there in your syllabus, and this is how we conclude this chapter. Okay, so please go through the chapter with the help of diagrams so that you understand better. Okay, so today we'll do only this much. Thank you very much.